Welcome to Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I am Tim Capper. You can find me on Twitter at Repact. That's REPPACT.
And I'm Cliffy D. You can find me on Twitter as well, but you can find me at Cliffy D. And the Alouettes Flightdeck podcast is presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where right now, if you use the promo code FlightDeck-10, you will save 10% off your entire order. Head on over to www.sportbuffshop.com for all of your merchandising needs.
And you can also find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter also at Alouettes FLDeck, Instagram, Alouettes Flightdeck, Facebook, Alouettes Flightdeck Pod. You can find our merchandise over at teespring.com/stores/Alouettes Flightdeck. And on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Alouettes Flightdeck. As a reminder, we are going to be making the draw for that jacket before the end of the 2022 broadcast season. Should be doing it in the next couple of weeks. We're hoping to do it on a YouTube live. Just trying to set everything up and get everything set up for it, but that will be coming very, very soon. Also, we will be having the draw coming up for the next home game. That is going to be versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That will be on the 23rd, so stay tuned for the link to enter the draw. It will be available before the end of the week, and it will be running through next Monday. So stay tuned for that. You can win a pair of tickets of the SportBuff Flight Crew seats. And we get to watch the Owls play versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And what could be a very, very important game when it comes to the Alouettes trying to hold on to their second place in the East and potentially shooting for that number one spot. Right, Cliff?
Could be. I mean, let's face it, folks. The CFL East this year is, well, let's face it. There's a reason why we keep calling it the CFL East, because it has not been pretty. And looks like Toronto, at least, is finding its form and getting their act together. So more than likely, they'll be in a playoff position when it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. And as it stands right now, Montreal is in a playoff position, believe it or not. But you got to keep winning. You got to make sure that you're either in first or second place this year, because, we're now getting to that crunch time. We're getting to that point where playoff scenarios are starting to form, and there's a couple of teams that could easily cross over from the West to the East and face more than likely the Alouettes. So the Owls got to keep on winning it, because let's face it, I think it's really truly going to be first place, second place in the East. We'll have playoff spots, and third and fourth on the East are just going to be on the outside looking in.
Exactly. By the way, I didn't tell you about this. This is a total surprise. Yes, it would be better on video. But speaking of crunch time, Cliff, I happened to pick up the hottest thing on the internet so far: the Ruffles Kentucky Fried Chicken original recipe chicken chips.
Where'd you find them? I've been looking all over for those.
Oh, really? I actually found them in where was I? Where the hell did I get gas on the way home today? Hold on. I got the thing in my, it's funny. I know what it is. It is in Limoges. I picked them up at a Circle K in Limoges, Ontario. And they had the big bags. And I was like, oh, do they have a small bag? I don't want to buy the whole thing just in case I hate them. So I found them in here. Shades of the days of Bad Monkey popcorn, eh?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, wow.
That's going away. That's a deep dive.
That is a very deep dive. By the way, check in our archive over at alouettesflightdeck.ca, where you can actually listen to those episodes. One of our very first sponsors, actually.
Wow. Popcorn sponsors. And doing it on a podcast, it was an interesting time, folks. I guess you had to be there.
I guess you had to be there.
Definitely go check out the archives if you're really interested in listening to a couple of middle-aged guys eating popcorn. I mean, it's.
Hey, I wasn't middle-aged back then.
Well, yes, you were.
No, I wasn't.
Well, okay.
We're talking 7 years. No, I wasn't.
Okay. Settle down, Graham. Jeez.
So yes, we know how hard it is to do this, and the smell's pretty good. So I know, Cliff, I said this is totally off the cuff, so hold on a second here. Oh my God, Cliff.
Is that oh my God good, or oh my God,
they tastes like Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Oh boy.
That's crazy.
Wow. You know what? the funny thing about chicken skin is so good, and I know it's so bad for you, but I really don't care.
This is more the 11 herbs and spices, though. This is not really a chicken flavor because we've had I think Lay's made a chicken flavor, if I'm not mistaken, or correct me if I'm wrong. Either Lay's or
Old Dutch.
Old Dutch, yes. I was about to say that was the other one too.
Yeah, like those are pretty decent from what I recall. If they're anything like those, then okay.
This is actually wow. It's been a while since I've had Kentucky Fried or Poulet Free Kentucky, as they call it here in Quebec. Those are pretty good. I'll think. You know, if I were, I should have gotten you a bag. My bad. Such a bad co-host. So, thumbs up. Thumbs up. There we go.
All right. There you go, folks. There's your food review.
There you go. So we tried something a little bit different before we get to the game. Obviously, the Alouettes dominated this past week. It wasn't a perfect game, no matter what it says on the scoreboard. But Cliff and I did something different. It was funny. I was watching. I think Cliff was there with me, and we were watching this past week's episode. Literally, this past week's episode of the Turf District podcast. Shout out to the guys and gals over there. And they talked about they're having an AMA, and they talked. It was a lot about things that they love the most, things that they bought the most. That really mean the most to them. And it really came down to, because I think it was Commissioner Kayla, who went on a rant. But it made a lot of sense. They're talking about it's really all about the CFL. If you were to explain it to somebody who's never been to a CFL game before, how would you explain to them? And it really just came down to what is the CFL family, to try different things in about the CFL family. So Cliff and I tried something different. I mean, we've been in our seats for 20, I think it's up around 20 years, because we originally had our seats in Z1, section Z1, before the expansion and whatever. And we had the option, because the Alouettes gave all their season ticket members this past month, free tickets based off of how many seats you had. And then I said to Cliff, I said, let's try something new. Both of us are not really that much to the fans of sitting on the south side overlooking the north side. The north side overlooking the city. Let's try the new upper deck. So Cliff and I booked the seats, and we actually sat in section X2. Which, by the way, if you happen to get them as season tickets, they would be more expensive than what Cliff and I are currently paying for our seats over in Y1. And all in all, Cliff, people saw what we saw, what we posted on social media, etc. I was pretty impressed. First time I've actually been had seats in the upper deck. And I was actually pretty impressed. The kind of vibe that it gave me, dude, was watching a game on TV. That kind of angle. That's what it kind of reminded me of. Or not really Madden, because that's usually sitting from the end zones.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of vibe that it gave me. And I was actually pretty impressed with our seats for the game. What was your take from these seats?
It was kind of interesting. I mean, again, I freely admit I do really enjoy our seats, because we've got not just a fairly decent view, all things considered, but it's just a great vibe, great atmosphere. Like we're thankful to be surrounded by some pretty knowledgeable football people.
Yes,
and just people that are there to enjoy the game and be a part of the experience. I mean, nobody's sitting on their hands. Nobody's really only there because someone gave them tickets, kind of thing. Like it's not that vibe at all. Like we're that section Y1 is, I'd say, what you'd expect of a CFL football crowd, or what you should be expecting a CFL football crowd.
Agreed, 100%.
That being said, it was interesting to go up and see how it was on the other side, or up in the next level, I should say. It was like, as you said, we had a really good view of the field. We had a really good view of everything around us. I mean, it was interesting. I mean, I've joked, because I've sat in numerous sections over the years and kind of got a different feel of everything. I always say there's not really a bad seat in the house. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to sit in the end zone in the first row.
Yeah.
Like that, I wouldn't be too crazy about, to tell you the truth. I don't think you really get a chance to see a whole lot from that perspective. But when you're talking about the actual either north or south side of the stands, I mean, really, truly, there's not a bad seat to be had. That being said, it was interesting, kind of taking the game from that perspective, and we were surrounded by some pretty decent people. Mind you, though, I had to laugh, and I even tweeted about it, was these guys that were sitting next to us in French. Like, at one point, they were comparing Trevor Harris to Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And I'm sorry to say, like, I don't want this to turn into another session where we bag on Trevor Harris, because it's not about that. It really, truly isn't.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Josh Allen is a unbelievably he's he's like a next level quarterback, and he is going to be a superstar in the NFL for years to come. Trevor Harris, to call him a superstar is very, very, very generous. I mean, he's not Josh Allen. Let's put it that way. I'm just gonna leave it at that. He's not Josh Allen, and other than the fact that both guys are as white as the driven snow, I don't know where else you can draw comparisons to from Trevor Harris to Josh Allen. I would love to see what they're seeing, because based on how Trevor Harris has played all year and how he played against the BC Lions, I don't think anyone with like a sound mind and body would be able to compare Trevor Harris to Josh Allen. And I'm not saying it again. I'm not saying it as a dig to Trevor Harris, but he's not Josh Allen. We'll just leave it at that. He's not even close to Josh Allen.
And it was, I was, for first time for me up there too. As I said, we were technically first row, but we were row 4 because we were sitting, which was well overdue before they actually built these. It was handicap accessible seats, so it was we still had a great view. And I joked on social media that we found out where all the horns had been born. All those air horns had been born, because there were quite there were quite a few of them around us, and it didn't. It was funny. It bothered me for a little bit. Then I just tuned it out. So I don't know what all you people on TV are complaining about.
Yeah, and it sounds like TSN is back to trolling people, because I was still seeing quite a few complaints about the horns.
Oh, really?
So,
come on.
Yeah, and supposedly the last game they did actually move the microphones, and I think it was Chris Edwards, one of the producers on TSN, had said it was so funny though, because he was trying to lay blame on that one particular fan that everybody knows about with the horns. Mm-hmm. He's trying to lay blame, like we're trying to get away from that guy, but he's going to keep doing it no matter what. I'm like, well, yeah. So, God forbid, a season ticket holder and fan of the team should try to encourage his team. You can move your microphones, like asking him to stop or asking him to change his seats or anything like that, just to make your broadcast a little bit better. That's a little gauche as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but also his reasoning doesn't really hold water at all, because the next game after the whole complaint thing, they brought cowbells. So you can't say that you're trying to stay away from them, but you know what I mean? They brought cowbells that next game. And yes, then they brought the horns back, but still.
Yeah, and then TSN goes back to their old tricks. They put the mics back. It seems like sounded like they put the mics back, or at least a little bit closer, or maybe a little further away. Who knows? But again, the horns were apparently still prevalent, despite the fact there was less fans in the last game. But I guess any reason to complain, and I still think TSN is just doing it to troll everybody. They're just like, what, we're doing this. You don't like it too freaking bad.
Yeah, but. Location to everything, if anybody has a chance to choose a particular section, I would say choose X2. Differences that I pointed out to Cliff, and I may have mentioned. Oh no, I didn't mention on social, but I did. It's the pluses are that the speakers are not directly in our face, as they are when we're sitting down in our normal section in Y1. They were actually behind us. So, and we were sitting, as at row 4, they were at the top. I mean, maybe it would have been the same for people who sit at the top. I don't know, but it was kind of nice to have a normal sound when it came to the speakers. Nothing was blaring too much. When they were playing whatever they were going to play for second down or for third down, the noise really wasn't that bad. So that's one of the few pluses. I mean, that's my only minor gripe when it comes to us sitting down below. Because as you said, there are a lot of people who really know their football. So, but yeah, I'd sit there again. I sit there again.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. It was a fun experiment to see how it is watching the game from another perspective. Would I want to sit there permanently? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's
price-wise, I'd have to check again. Again, remember, they're more expensive tickets than what we're currently paying.
Right. And then also, too, how much of a trade-off do we want? And also, too, the fact that because we're underneath the overhang,
exactly,
we're protected from the elements. Whereas this would be, if skies decided to open up, we'd be getting the full force of it. So,
which we've done, too. We've done, remember, Thanksgiving, how many years ago, we did it in the rain. We still loved it. But
Oh, we still had a blast for sure. But I guess really that's what it comes down to is like when it comes to like the season's ticket, there's pros and cons to everything. So I mean, all you can really do, folks, is try stuff out, see if it works. If you find you like it, great. If you don't, then it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. So,
but still,
all this to say, like, it doesn't hurt to keep an open mind, try out different things, see things from another perspective, and so you just may end up finding stuff that you like and finding something you wouldn't have considered otherwise.
Exactly. And our next thing is to try to find a decently priced VIP seats over on our side, which we've never done, to actually sit in an actual seat. Oh, and I got stuff to talk about. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it after we do the preview, after we do the review. But interesting information. As I said, I'll just say Brian Waitman, great guy to talk to. Anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit more. 31-10, the Alouettes beat the BC Lions just over 15,500. It was a slight increase from the week before. I'm going to let you start with this one, Cliff. I know I usually start, but give me your thoughts on this. I mean, it was basically a 13. Owls dominated the first half. I mean, they had held the ball for more than 21 minutes in the first half. BC had only 9 minutes. 9 minutes at the end of end of the first half. But give me your thought. What your thoughts were on this game?
Well, this was quite the interesting match, considering we had a familiar friend return to us. Well, technically two familiar friends returned to us. Form of starting quarterback Antonio Pipkin, and believe it or not, his backup, one Vernon Adams Jr. I don't know. I was expecting VA to come in and just maybe have a little bit of revenge on his mind, maybe want to show up this organization and say, hey, you didn't believe in me. Now I'm going to show you. But perhaps that might have been a little much to expect from someone who's only had a handful of practices with his new team. But yeah, Antonio Pipkin, he came into this game, and I'm sure he was motivated too. And I think he really wanted to prove that he belonged. I mean, this is Nathan Rourke's team, or it was Nathan Rourke's team, but now it's Antonio Pipkin's team, or it was. I don't know if the pressure was just too much, but he just did not look great out there. I mean, Pipkin managed 13 to 24 passes, got picked off, didn't score any TDs. I mean, like, he didn't throw for any TDs, I should say. He did actually run for one. But the name of this game was defense for the Alouettes. I mean, this defense just rattled the BC Lions and just kept punching them in the mouth over and over. I mean, there's just
VA's first play in the game, sack.
Yep. And then one of his next plays, the pass he threw, I think it was to Keon Hatcher, who ended up fumbling the ball, and the Alouettes recovered on that one. I mean, the Alouettes, like, this defense really truly came alive. They really made plays happen. I mean, I was expecting this game to be a lot closer, but I think the Alouettes just woke up and chose violence that Friday, and they just feasted on the Lions, which was something to see. Like, I was really expecting this match to be a lot more competitive, and it just wasn't. I was just blown away just how well this defense really came together and just dominated. Like, the first half of truly was this defense just punching the BC Lions in the mouth over and over. And the second half, I think I felt like the Alouettes kind of took the half off. I mean, that third quarter was just abysmal by football standards. It for both teams, really.
Atrocious. Well, time of possession-wise, no. It was good for BC, but it was just atrocious for the Alouettes.
Yeah, I mean, like, in that sense, BC dominated as far as time possession goes, and I think the Alouettes had 5 offensive plays.
Yeah.
Including Trevor Harris throwing a pick for one of them. So, but the Alouettes did what they had to do. They matched, aside from that third quarter, they pretty much won the points battle. They won the turnover battle quite handily. I mean, they played as complete a game as you could hope to play, especially too as games now are starting to mean more and more as we approach the playoffs. This was a game that the Alouettes absolutely had to win, and I don't think a lot of people expected to win. I think of this 4-game homestand, I think a lot of the fans were expecting this to be the game that the Alouettes were going to lose, because if they can take 3 of 4 on this homestand, they'll be sitting really pretty. And unfortunately, they did not win against the Red Blacks 2 weeks ago. But and we expected that. We expected the Alouettes to win that game. and lose to the BC Lions. But lo and behold, it was the other way around. And it was incredible. It was incredible to watch. It was great to see this team really come together. Still, despite all of that, I mean, like I said, there's good, there's bad, there's a lot to take in. So let's start breaking some of this down.
For sure. Trevor Harris, he was 16-23, 163, 1-1. We keep talking about our quarterbacks being good. At one point it was good VA, bad VA, and this year it has been a good Trevor, bad Trevor. I think it's been too, to me, even though we got the win, it was another bad Trevor. It wasn't again, the third quarter was a joke. Everything was done in the first half. We also had that pick, help with the defense with that pick six. Beautiful by newcomer, obviously by one of our newcomers, pick six. The running game did very well. I was actually very impressed because that's something that we've been worried about the last couple of weeks is this running game. Fletcher, I mean, when was the last time was it Stanback the last time that we had 14 carries in a single game? I'm trying to remember back earlier in the season. I don't remember if we've had this many, but still led the team with 79 yards. Even Joshua Antwi, he ran off a 31-yard scamper, but yet he had only 10 yards after that. But still, 7 carries, 41 yards. I cannot complain about at all.
And again, it's one of those things we keep talking about. If you can't connect with your receivers for whatever reason, then you got to rely on the ground game. And listen, Walter Fletcher and Joshua Antwi are two very capable running backs. They've proven it game after game after game. Is that you give them the opportunity, you create holes for them, they will definitely make the most of it. Like Fletcher, a couple of his runs were just outstanding. Mm-hmm. Like he had 13-yard strike that was just a thing of beauty. Like and just kept. It was the idea to just keep ramming the ball down their throat, and that's exactly what the Alouettes did.
They went back to that statement drive versus the Ottawa Red Blacks earlier in the first half. It looks like they mixed up the play calling, which is nice. Even though again at that point the Alouettes were up 21-3 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, and you had to show them different looks. You had, especially when you consider the fact that Vernon Adams is on the BC Lions, and you knew he was going to be letting guys know, like if he wasn't behind center, he was letting them know, hey, watch out for this guy, watch out for this, watch out for that. You knew he was going to spill the tea, as they say, on the Alouettes. And obviously, the only way you're going to counter something like that is show them different stuff, show them stuff that they've never seen before, that Vernon had perhaps never seen before, which is kind of hard to fathom, really. But I mean, you had to do something different. That's for sure. You couldn't approach this game like you approach it any other game. Like you had to show different looks. You had to really make life miserable for Antonio Pipkin, and that's exactly what they did. And this defense really showed them a lot of different looks. And offensively, I mean, yes, they put points on the board. There's no question about that. But I mean, it was just simple stuff, really. I mean, nothing outstanding. There was no holy cow plays, really, when I think about it offensively. Like, again, like when I think about the highlights of this game, like it truly is the defense that really shined against the BC Lions last Friday.
There was almost a one of those talked about plays in the first half. The Owls could have had more points, except for that damn quarterback Eugene Lewis.
That guy needs a talking to, because
something.
How the mighty have fallen. I mean, we're talking about a time where Geno Lewis, whenever he would throw a pass, it would either be for a touchdown or completion. Like he had over 100 quarterback rating. This year, he is 0 for 2 and got picked off. I mean,
yeah, it was a pass he shouldn't have thrown. We spoke to Geno after the game. He even said, I think they were razzing him. I think Joey Alfieri was talking to him afterwards, and he was razzing him about his quarterback rating. And even Geno was like, "Damn it, man! I just wanted to be perfect." And it's like he knew that after he got turned around, that pass should not have been thrown.
Yeah, like it was a great reverse, a great little bit of trickeration. Mm-hmm. And again, if you can pull it off, it's magic. And then, you're going to definitely make the highlight reels. Unfortunately, though, it just didn't quite work the way that he hoped it would. And ended up getting picked off. And then the defender actually fumbled the ball. And, eventually BC recovered. It ended up being deep enough in Alouette's territory, or in Lions territory. But, man, it was just one of those things that, you know what? Like, I get what you're trying to do. And if you catch them napping, that's great. But sometimes if the play's not there, don't force it. Just throw it away. I'm sure Trevor Harris would have said the same thing to him. It's like, dude, it's not there. Just throw it away. Throw it away.
Yep, exactly. But again, too, it just everything really stood out was that third quarter. It was just so brutal. I mean, and we thought it's very possible this had been any other team, but the Alouette, this outcome may have been not what it was, because 5 plays, and this is where BC got back into the game. I mean, I think BC held the ball we had the ball for 2 minutes. I think that quarter. I'd have to look it up. I think we had the ball for 2 minutes. It was something. It was something ridiculous.
And it was also where Trevor threw his pick too, so that it didn't help the cause any. I mean, like I said, we're not here to bag on the guy, but at the same time, like you're showing like this team was so dominant in the first half of the game, and it just felt like they were coasting through that third quarter. Like just letting BC hang around. And again, even without Nathan Rourke, like this is still not the team to let hang around. And they should be very thankful that guys like Brian Burnham, Dominic Grimes, Lucky Whitehead, they played an okay game, but still couldn't quite get things going. So that, like the fact that Alouettes defense was able to keep those guys honest throughout the game was nothing short of impressive.
Yeah, 4 minutes and 32 seconds.
Yeah,
in the third quarter. So, but again, it really was the defense, dude. I mean, we have to talk about our 2 new guys that we acquired played a huge part in what the defense did versus BC, right?
Oh, 100%. And don't forget, like, we were excited, like, and it's so funny, like the day of the VA trade also was when we acquired these 2 gentlemen. We're talking about Thomas Costigan and Nafis Lyon. And again, that trade just kind of got, I won't say swept under the rug, but it certainly was kind of put to the back burner because, of course, everybody was talking about the fact that VA got traded. Obviously, when you trade a superstar like that, that's going to dominate the headlines. And then this trade was kind of thrown in, like, oh, and by the way, we got these 2 guys too. And like, okay, like any other day, this would have been really exciting news to be able to acquire these guys. And oh my, they come as expected. Thomas Costigan was just absolutely outstanding. Like he made his presence felt. Played what I felt was an outstanding game. But Nafis Lyon, oh my gosh. I mean, a pick 6 in your first game as a Montreal Alouette. Like, you want to make an impression, you want to get people talking about you, that's how you do it. But let's talk about the throw that Pipkin made. If I didn't know better, did someone hypnotize Pipkin to thinking he was still Montreal Alouette and he was just completing a pass to a receiver? Because that's what it looked like. Like, I looked at the throw, like I looked at pick 6 a couple of times, and like, who the hell was Pipkin throwing to? Like, and Nafis Lyon's just like, oh, okay, I'll catch this, and
he did. He picked that thing. He picked it up off the ground.
Oh yeah, what, like a house call, like right off the hop. Like, again, how you doing? And welcome to Montreal.
And then his little spin, to get around the other defender before that was Pipkin, I think, before they get into the end zone. Beaut.
I mean, that was chef's kiss. Just the perfect way to end it. Like, just outstanding. And it's so funny too, because it was after another, I think there was 2 straight 2-and-outs in the fourth quarter. And like I said, Harris was just not doing anything of note. Like, it was just like nothing doing. And I even said to you, like, okay, it's pretty clear the defense is going to have to get a pick 6 here because we're not scoring on offense anymore. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yep.
And wouldn't you know it, the Nostra dumbass over here just basically called it for you.
He did. Yeah, you did. You really did. And we're not talking by 1 or 2 plays here, folks. We're literally talking. Cliff says it. It happens the next play, just as Cliff finishes saying it.
Spoken to existence, I guess. Because again, like, just after such an abysmal third quarter, and again with the fact that with Trevor Harris 2 straight 2-and-outs, like, it just felt like, okay, well, the offense is taking the rest of the night off. All right, fine, whatever. I mean, one could make the assumption, okay, you're up by 21 points at that, or no, not even 21 points, like 18 points at that point. Like, you're comfortably in the lead, and it's always worrisome because the last thing you want to do is start coasting and just resting on your laurels. And I really felt like the Alouettes offense was doing that throughout the third quarter and into the fourth as well. But then, okay, if the defense can score a couple points, just that little insurance marker, if you will, that little extra cushion to say, okay, we've got this game, and that's exactly what Nafis Line's pick six was just that icing on the cake to say that, okay, yeah, we got this game. This is RW. That's it. That's all. Mm-hmm. So props to Nafis Line. Holy cow. Welcome to Montreal. What a play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're talking about the good and the bad. I mean,
let's not forget too, our guy Thomas Costigan, forced fumble recovery.
Yep.
I mean, listen. I mean, like I said, these two guys came from Edmonton and contributed to be able to contribute right away. Like, we were excited about this trade already before these guys even suited up, and then this is what you do for your debut. Hello, this is just outstanding. Like. Say what you will about Danny Machocha and some of the decisions he's made this year personnel-wise, but to be able to land these two guys for basically a song, and Avery Ellis, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Yep. No, I know.
And this secondary too has really, they've had their highlights and their lowlights. Let's put it that way. But with Nafis Lyon and Raheem Wilson out there straight up balling like that, I think things will be okay. I think this secondary, I've said they really got to get their act together. And I think with these two guys as a part of it, and if we get Najee Murray back in the lineup, get him back in healthy, Mike Jones, of course, is just still a very dominant corner, still making lots of plays happen. And then it's just MAD. When he's on, he's on. And it's kind of funny, actually. At one point, he kind of hobbled off the field because the turf monster got.
Oh, that was a scary thing, dude.
And I'm sitting there like, oh god, no,
because he was down. Yeah, it looked like something caught him when he was trying to defend a pass into the end zone.
Well, I think he broke up a pass.
Yeah. But still, it didn't look good because both you and I said something immediately to each other.
Yeah.
But sure, he just walked off, and post game when we saw him on the field afterwards, he seemed fine, at least at that moment. So
yeah, and I haven't heard anything otherwise as far as health wise goes. I guess we'll see what happens when they go back to practice next week. But may have just been a twitch, may have just been like a Charlie horse or something like that. Mm-hmm. But just the way he kind of almost just the way it hit him anyways, it looked a lot worse than what it was, thankfully. And at least it was just a scary moment, but in the end, all is well. At least it seems that way.
Yeah. By the way, this is really, it's off topic a little bit, just a little bit of breaking news. Vernon Adams has been named the starting quarterback for the BC Lions versus the Calgary Stampeders this week.
Yeah. And again, we knew we were going to see him against his old team. I mean, there's no question about that. And it wasn't a matter of, well, Pipkin sucks, so let's get rid of him kind of thing. It really wasn't about
deja vu, though. We mentioned it last week. It's like deja vu for Pipkin.
Yeah. He had to have been wondering, oh, no, what the hell, man? But you know what? It's so funny because Vernon Adams went through this in 2018 with Johnny Manziel.
Yep.
When both were members of the Hamilton Tiger Cats and then both became members of the Montreal Alouettes. It was that deja vu feeling for Vernon. So I'm sure Vernon had to know that deep down, too. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't about that, and we didn't end up seeing very much of Vernon last Friday. I mean, he went in for I think 1 or 2 series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much the Antonio Pipkin show, which, hey, great. I mean, that's the guy you're going with, and I think it was just a matter of just trying to get a couple of reps for Vernon, just let him feel things out a little bit.
Yeah.
And breaking the uniform, however you want to phrase it, but now. Vernon Adams now is going to get that chance that he deserves, and I have no doubt in my mind that with now a couple of full weeks of practice under his belt, he's going to go and he's going to be great. I know he's going to be great because we expect nothing less from Vernon Adams,
and he'll be returning to Calgary for the first time since week 1. This will be the second time he has started against Calgary in Calgary.
Yeah, that's pretty wild when you think about it. But that's the CFL for you, folks. I mean, it's crazy like that, and it's you wouldn't want it any other way.
Exactly. Any other thing you want to take away from this game itself? Obviously, the guys who were hurt, we have a bye week this week. We'll see them on, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We'll see them on Sunday at Season Ticket Members Day at Purcell Molson. But anything else you can take away from this game?
I think what it can take away more than anything else is, yes, this was the kind of game that I know Montreal needed. Like we talked about the fact that their last 2 wins were kind of just by the skin of their teeth kind of wins. Like, yeah, they got the W, but I mean, it could have just easily been a loss. It was so close, and it was even though they were hard fought games, like they just barely won. Like, this one, definitely say was a dominant win. I still go back to the fact that Trevor Harris looked average at best. The offense looked okay, not outstanding. Like, it really did come down to this was a defensive win for the Alouettes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for everybody, bagging on Noel Thorpe and just how he's been coaching this team, this defense, I think this team really stood up and stood out for him. And I think, props have to be given. Like, we were able to talk to Noel after the game, and you could see I want to say the joy on his face, but I think a little bit of relief as well. Just like, okay, this is what I came here for. This is what I was expecting. This is what I expect out of my guys each and every week, and they delivered. And if this defense can come alive like that every game, I mean, this is a very dangerous football team. If you give them the opportunity to hang around, regardless of who the quarterback is, regardless of what Trevor Harris can or cannot do offensively. I mean, he did the things that he had to do. I mean, like, he got the ball downfield, and he got plays happening. Like, he was able to hand off the ball to the running backs and get the ball downfield that way as well. I mean, he was doing the little things that you expect a quarterback to do in this league. But really, truly, this was the defense's game. Like, this was their chance to shine, and shine they did. And on all facets too. Like, you talk about defensive line, linebackers, the secondary, everybody stood up and made plays happen. Whether it was Mustafa Johnson, who got a safety.
Yeah.
Also, too, his first game as a Montreal Alouette. Like, he made his presence felt. I mean, so many guys on defense really made plays happen. I mean, this was a game strictly, like, if you love defensive players, this was the game for you, because this was their time to shine, and shine they did. And I got to take my hat off to them. Like, they really stood out in this game. When you think about special teams too, Zach Lindley, my God, this guy, the special teamer, like the 8th round draft pick, the boy nobody loves, so to speak. Like, I mean, he's come alive in the past few games, and he has just been a demon on special teams. Like, I think he blocked a punt attempt, so that it ended up going almost nowhere. He's been laying the wood out on people as well. I mean, he has been just like a little Tasmanian devil. He's just been a force on special teams. And
by the way, I don't think that was a blocked punt. I think it was actually it was shanked. I remember hearing Joey Alfieri making a comment about it on the Owls this week. I could swear that's what I heard him say, that it wasn't actually a blocked punt. Did the league consider it a block punt? That's what I'm just asking. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but I'm just trying to make.
No, but he truly made plays happen though. Yeah. There was no question like this, and this is what you want from your special team. Like, when you think about an 8th round draft pick, you're like, okay, like, it doesn't mean this guy was a lousy player. It just meant that's where he was drafted, and you just never know, folks. Like, this is where you find the diamonds in the rough. You talk about guys like Luc Brodeur-Jourdain, DJ LaLama. These are guys that were also 8th round or like the last round picks, like the Mr. Irrelevance, if you will. And look what they do. Like, they end up having very solid careers. It's just a matter of you get the opportunity and you make the most of it. And that's exactly what Zach Lindley's doing. And my goodness, folks, like, this is something to be excited about. You talk about like Tyson Philpott, who, again, I still say when it's all said and done is going to be the Eastern nominee for Rookie of the Year. Don't you dare sleep on Zach Lindley. Like, when it comes to not just special teams play, but like, if this guy ever gets a chance to get out on defense, I mean, he was fantastic. He's got Vanier Cup winning experience as well. He was with the Western Mustangs last year.
That's true.
Played outstanding football. So, I mean, like, this guy is built for this. And, okay, fine. Like, most rookies, you're going to have to make your bones on the special teams aspect of the football game. And that's fine. But he's making the most of his opportunity. And he's really, really standing out. So props to him for that. Like, to me, like, these are the moves that you have to make. Like, these are the plays that have to be made in order to help win football games as well. And Zach Lindley is just, he's making a case of his own for Rookie of the Year. But my goodness, like, what a find. What a find.
It's true. Again, yeah, if we can, by the way, it was BC who only had the ball for 2 minutes and 12 seconds in the second quarter. If the Alouettes can dominate like that consistently, then, as the defense is helping. Well, you know what I mean? just click. We can just click.
Yeah. And let's not forget Chandler Worthy, too. Like, no house calls, again, but he, too, had a couple of massive, massive returns to really help put the Alouettes in a great position.
Right.
Again, you talk about special teams. Like, it's not just guys making outstanding plays defensively, but it's also guys like Chandler Worthy who get the rock and go for a run. And my goodness, like I think he had 1 or 2 50-yard returns. I mean, that's tremendous. Like that's the kind of thing you want. You want to give your quarterback as short a field as possible. And especially too, like when Trevor Harris was having those games where it's just not quite clicking like it should be, at least give him an opportunity to make stuff happen.
Yes,
and
sir. Yeah.
That's really what it was. Like Chandler Worthy really did an outstanding job again. Like, would we want a house call? Would we want him to return a touchdown? Of course we would. There's no question about that. But I mean, if you at least put your team in position where you're cutting the field in half and giving your offense a chance to really make plays happen, that's half the battle there. So I mean, Chandler Worthy, like, great to see you again. Like that's what we come to expect out of this guy. So,
I think he's trying to do a lot because he's seen what former Alouette returner Mario Alford's been doing with Saskatchewan.
Well, there you go. That's the benchmark. The fact that we felt confident enough in Chandler Worthy and Tyson Philpott as returners to be able to say, okay, Mario Alford is expendable, and again, Saskatchewan is going to benefit so much from that. Okay. They have. I mean, that's just it. I mean, talk about an embarrassment of riches to be able to have guys like that in our lineup. Yep. To the point where we can afford to give them away.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, that just speaks to what the special teams is all about with this team. Like when it comes to the stars of the game, obviously this defense is going to shine brightly. But special teams, let's not forget, like this is one of those areas over the years with the Alouettes has been kind of like shall I say, a work in progress. But this year, by and large, like special teams has looked outstanding this year, all things considered.
Yep.
So let's not forget about that, folks. When you talk about like what you're looking
except for a couple of bad games with the penalties. They've done well.
Well, that's it. I mean, penalties has just been like the story of the year for the Alouettes. Let's call it what it is. But when this special teams unit is given a chance to make plays, like whether it's guys like just trucking other guys or guys, getting kicked the ball to and returning it for touchdowns. I mean, like this is a unit that has really truly shown over and over again that they belong in the conversation. So you know what? Like you can love or hate this defense for what it does, offense too, but I mean special teams by and large, they're kind of they've been the unsung heroes this year for the Alouettes. So kudos to them. Like that to me is what I'm going to take away more than anything else is yes, this defense really did outstanding work, but let's not sleep on the special teams either.
Exactly. Just want to at least give a quick notes. Reggie White Jr. led the team in reception yards this week with 58, 4 receptions on 5 targets, and second from there was Gino, 3 receptions on 4 targets for 42 yards and 1 tutty. Again, they don't have a game this week, but there's still stuff to talk about because, as I mentioned before, we got to go onto the field afterwards. We got to talk to Brian Waitman prior to the game. Also, we don't know what the hell is going on, by the way, Cliff, because we haven't been able to get an answer yet. But what do you think about these what seem to be teasers of some sort from Gino on his social media, especially on Instagram, where him with some background of some sort? I can only imagine what's going on. We don't know if it's merchandise related, alternate uniforms related, or anything else. But whatever's going on, I'm intrigued and I want to see what it's about.
Yeah, he's got something cooking, and knowing Gino, it's going to be something outstanding. So, folks, if you haven't had a chance to go over to his Instagram, it's NoGram Gino, I believe it is.
That's right. Yeah.
Like I said, there's something going on there, and we're hopefully in time we'll find out what it is. But you got to know when it comes to Eugene Lewis, something's going to be there's something doing there, and it's going to be interesting for sure. So I know for sure I'm paying attention to it. I'm keeping tabs on it. So hopefully we'll find out what it is because like we. As you said, we got on the field afterwards and we were able to speak with him a little bit, and he was kind of being a little sly with us. He just all he said was stay tuned because when this happens, it's going to be amazing. So I'm like, okay, you've got our attention. So let's hopefully we'll find out sooner rather than later. But folks, you got to know that this is going to be something really interesting and something that's definitely worth your time and attention.
Exactly. Do you know what it is? Do you have some ideas of what it is? Well, let us know. You can email us. Email me specifically at tim.capper@alouettesflightdeck.ca, or you can email Cliff over at clifford.pine@alouettesflightdeck.ca. Let us know what you think it might be. Have any ideas of who we should have for future shows, or just to give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. So just email us or hit us up over on social media. Okay.
Yeah.
Mentioned that, as I said, this week, the Alouettes are going to be having their season ticket holder day. They announced the full schedule. It's going to be this Sunday, September 18th at 10:30. It originally was going to be earlier than that, but the Alouettes have made some slight modifications. But hey, I don't care. So what they're going to be doing it's going to be, as I said, over at Percival Molson from 10:15 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you are a season ticket holder, you also were given 2 extra tickets to invite anybody you want to come and join you for that day, because there are some pretty interesting things that are going to be happening. Originally, the gates will be opening up at Percival Molson at 10:15. Season ticket holders can pick up their season ticket holder gift. I've said it before in weeks past, but I'm just going to keep it a secret now, because if you don't know what it is, it's a surprise. So from 10:15 to 11:30, you can pick those up. The team is only going to be practicing for an hour from 11:30 to 12:30. Be able to meet the players on the field after that, Cliff, from 12:30 to 1. And this is brand new. That was announced today from 1:10 to 1:45. There's going to be a Q&A session with Mario Ticini and Danny Machocha. So yeah, that's could be pretty interesting. And also, they're going to be feeding us complimentary lunch. I think it's a dog and drink will be provided on site. So weather right now, cloudy, possibly with a chance of rain. I think throughout the day, but. Either way, it should be fun no matter what. Always fun when you get to have a chance to watch them practice or to get onto the field over at Percival Molson.
Oh, absolutely. Again, this is an opportunity for season ticket holders to meet their players, meet their heroes, so to speak. Always a fun atmosphere. I mean, the fact that it's at Percival Molson, too, is just excellent, because I don't know how many fans would actually really want to make the trek out to the Big O. I can understand why, especially if you don't live out that way, it's a bit of a schlep to get out there. So I can understand that. So I mean, it definitely behooves the Alouettes, if they're going to have a special event like this for their season ticket holders, your best bet is to do it at Percival Molson Stadium. So kudos to them for having that foresight. And if you're providing a lunch as well, and you get a chance to pick up your season ticket holder gift, even better. At least that way you've got it, and it's great. And being fed is always nice too. And yeah, folks, if you're a season ticket holder, by all means, this is your opportunity to go and see the players, see them do their thing. This Q&A session with Mario Ticini and Danny Machocha should be interesting too, because fans, they've got their opinions. They want their questions answered. So
fans have their opinions? No, really?
Right. Listen, I know a lot of season ticket holders have their opinions, and they've got questions that they'd like to have answered. So you know what? What better opportunity to do so than do it with your fellow season ticket holders? If you got questions, concerns, this is the time to do it. Air it out. Mm-hmm. If you're not happy with how things are being run with the team, talk to the president. If you've got questions and concerns about how the on-field product is, talk to the general manager. Let's hear what they have to say. I'm hoping to see fans come ask smart, intelligent questions. That might be asking a little too much, depending on some of the fans, but well, I guess we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see how this Q&A is going to go. But it's a chance for you to see your team in action, see the guys as they get ready for. This is their last bye week that they're on, so It's pretty much your all systems go from now until hopefully late November for the Grey Cup in Regina. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is it. This is the first day of the rest of the season, as far as I'm concerned. Yep. So make sure you go, show up, show the guys the love, go get your season ticket gift, and take in hopefully it will be a good day of practice.
That's right. We were walking into the stadium, coming back into the stadium. Cliff and I had to deal with something pregame. And it's as if he knew we were there. or we didn't see him when we went to go do what we needed to do. We bumped into a senior director of sales and corporate partnerships, Brian Waitman. It's always fun and entertaining, and you learn so much information. And it's not necessarily it's what the team is trying to do to improve. But talking to Brian Cliff, every single conversation I've had with him, I've learned something. It's information that Joe fan may not necessarily know, but I know that he knows that usually we have the fans' ears on what we think needs to be done or have questions or stuff like that, and he's usually able to provide some information to us, whether it's in the early stages or not, but provide us with some information that what we usually pass on to the fans.
Right. It's kind of he's been sort of a liaison, if you will, as far as trying to understand certain aspects of how things are happening behind the scenes. Whether it comes to the in-game experience or any questions or concerns we have as season ticket holders, and just how obviously he has no control over the on-field product, but when it comes to the behind-the-scenes stuff, the administrative stuff, stuff that has to do with the actual team itself, he's shared a little bit of insight and shared with us some stuff that we probably had a feeling it was going to be like, or maybe just had an inkling to what it's going to be, and then sort of was able to confirm or deny with us what it actually was. Mm-hmm. I mean, we definitely appreciate his insight on these things, and the fact that he's willing to confide in us certain things, which when the time comes, if there's stuff that needs to be revealed, we can certainly reveal it and share it with the rest of you. Some of the stuff, though, is just okay, well, we've heard this. Can you confirm this or not? Yeah. And if he's able to tell us, he is. And if he doesn't know, then he doesn't know. And we'll say so too. I never got the impression that he's trying to put one over on us or trying to keep stuff from us either. And that's a key as well, because how many times have people said, oh, I know this, I can't tell you. Piss off with that nonsense. If you don't know, then you don't know. That's fine. Just then say I don't know.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
To me, as I mentioned to him before, is if you tell us something and it's off the record or it's in its early stages, you tell us such, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that he's willing to say, you know what, I really can't speak to this, or I don't know. There's a strength to that as well. If you don't know, then you don't know. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
But don't say something, and no double speak. And that's the thing I really can't stand. I get a lot of that too with the league and other teams and things like that. There's a lot of double speak, a lot of kind of wink, wink, nod, nod BS. And I have no time for that. Just look, if you don't know, you don't know. Just say that. Just say you don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. And don't try to, get cutesy or any of this other nonsense. I have no time for that whatsoever. So
right.
The fact that he's able to answer our questions as honestly as concisely as possible speaks volumes to him, and to also how this organization is run as well.
Yeah, and I think the things, and this, by the way, this is not a brag much session here, Clifford, why we bring up Brian at all, and not say anything about what he said, but things we can say is they're looking at some interesting modifications when it comes to account managers. It's in its early stages, but we can mention that. And they are actually actively looking at potentially some modifications to Percival Molson. Mm. Not with what we talked about a few weeks ago with the potential changes to the field dimensions, but to something else, which would be very interesting. And I can say this with 100% certainty, Cliff, that if it comes to fruition, I can honestly say that I would be severely open, if necessary, to move my season tickets. That's all I'll say. I'd be open to moving my seats if it does happen.
Well, and this is what we talked about, is the fact that it's all about trying to improve the in-game experience for the fans, for season ticket holders, yep. For anyone that's attending a game for the Alouettes. Anything that you can do to try and provide a much better game day atmosphere is something that has to be explored. And if it's something that you can implement right away and make it happen, even if it means, it might cost you a few bucks to do so, or kind of taking a risk in other areas. I mean, listen, these are avenues that have to be explored. And the worst thing you can do is nothing or get complacent. I mean, you've got to be willing to take chances. You've got to be willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to try this. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then we go back to the old way. I mean, the idea that you're open to at least changing and evolving as the needs for Alouettes fans need to be met over the next couple of years, I'm all for it. And the fact that this team is willing to make changes and listen to not just us, but other people as well, as far as to what they want in their in-game experience, the Alouettes, it behooves them to listen to that. And it would also behoove McGill, who owns Personal Molson Stadium, to be able to work with the Alouettes, because let's face it, this is their primary tenant. And you've got to find a way to make it so that people are coming to Molson Stadium to watch football games. And it's on the Alouettes, but it's also on McGill as well, because it's their building. They own the bricks and mortars of it.
That's
so
right.
they've got to be able to work with it. And let's face it, in the end, everybody wins when things get better. So I'm curious to see what potential changes could be made, what improvements could be made to the game day experience, to the atmosphere at Molson Stadium. If it's all to benefit the fans and make for a much more exciting experience watching football there, believe me, I'm all for it. And I want to believe too that this organization is going to do whatever it takes to make things better for the fans over the next few years.
Yep, and I had some feedback too. I don't know how often you fill them out, but that we do know for a fact that they do read the game day surveys. I had some stuff that I needed to point out this week that I wasn't very happy about, and I hopefully they'll make some modifications where it will be able to become better. That's the thing. And speaking of which is our last topic for this week, is that the Alouettes sent out their yearly, I would say it's their yearly survey based off of entire yearly experience, even though we haven't reached the end of the year yet. But the most important thing that I think that really stood out, Cliff, was how they asked about what days and what times we as fans prefer going to Percival Molson to see the Owls play.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned to you, usually in years past that they broke it up where it was like, what days do you prefer and what times do you prefer? Right. And as far as I remember, I think this is the very first time that they've actually broken it up into three separate questions where, what day and time do you want for games in May and June? What day and time do you want for games in July and August? And then what day again? And same thing, same question for September, October, November. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. It was very interesting I don't know if it's, and obviously based off of what, the results from the fans and the results of what they can get from TSN and from the league. It'll determine, and McGill and the McGill schedule too for the Redbirds and for soccer, for football, for soccer, et cetera. Whatever else they play there. Mm-hmm. But I was quite intrigued because we've talked about it this year about when it comes to days and times, how I've always felt, and I know how the teams feels about this, but I've always felt that, for the Alouettes to have the most Thursday games at home since their return in '96 speaks volume. But also, sometimes you do need to think outside of the box. I think the Owls have done that this year, or been allowed to do that this year with the two afternoon Saturday games. Early afternoon or late afternoon Saturday games. What were your thoughts? I mean, from what you saw in that particular part of the survey, did anything really stand out about the days and times that they had suggested?
Not really, other than its usual stuff. And it kind of comes back to, is this their way of trying to justify having so many Thursday games? Because let's face it, the Alouettes have been, I call them the kings of Thursday night, because whether it's at Percival Molson Stadium or even on the road, seems like it's Thursday for the Alouettes. And I'm sure a lot of people love that. I'm sure a lot of people would love to be able to watch the Alouettes on Thursday and then have their weekends free, so to speak. Like, if they're not interested in watching other football games, then it's not like they have to plan their weekend around the Alouettes, so to speak. They can just watch on Thursday night and be done with it, win or lose. That being said, though, there has been a lot of groundswell of support for the Saturday afternoon games and even Sunday afternoon games, which, again, the Alouettes have played Sunday afternoon games before, but it was usually after Labor Day, right, which competes with the NFL. Mm-hmm. So now the idea is, okay, what about playing in July or August, having those games, like having Sunday afternoon games or Sunday evening games even, because there is no NFL in July and August. Would fans be open to that? And I think a lot of fans would be, because TSN's ratings for the couple of games that they have played on Sunday afternoon, not with the Alouettes, mind you, but with other teams, the ratings have actually been pretty decent. Like, there's definitely an appetite for it. There's definitely people that would be interested. And again, a lot of people do associate football with Sundays, so it makes complete sense as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's something that the Alouettes should really be exploring more and more. I think maybe once in the past 10 years, I remember going to Percival Molson for a Sunday game. I mean, it was well attended. So, I mean, I don't think the attendance was necessarily the issue, especially too when you're still getting crowds of like 15,000 for a Friday night game, which supposedly is something that they've tried very hard, was to have Friday night games in order to get fans excited, get the weekend started, blah, blah, blah. But then when you got the Thursday night games that are outdrawing Friday night games, I can understand why their thought is, well, then obviously fans want from Thursday night games. Like, well, yes and no. I mean, listen, I personally will watch football any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say, though, you should be scheduling games on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for example. But no. I definitely think if you really truly want to get fans in the stadium, if you want that 21,000 that we had against Hamilton, which was a Saturday afternoon, I think truly that was the way to go. I think ideally the Alouettes should be looking to schedule more of these games, less Thursday games, more weekend games.
Yep. And the last home Sunday game was during the 2018 season. And I think that's when the league got away from the Sunday games. It was in 2019.
Right. Because again, like the thought is you don't want to compete with the NFL. So that's why that's why they were doing away with the games on Sundays after Labor Day. Okay, I get that, and I appreciate that. Mind you, though, we always seem to have decent crowds on those Sunday afternoon games at Percival Molson. So I don't know what to make of that. I think at the end of the day, if you want to go see a football game, you're going to go see a football game regardless of what day it's played on. Right. But there are a lot of outstanding factors as well, as far as people coming in from out of town. Like if you're already on the island of Montreal, it's not so much of a challenge. But if you're coming from outside, and let's face it, there's a lot of people outside of the Montreal area that are Alouettes fans and would love to go see a game, but logistically, it's just not possible to come in for that Thursday night game, because otherwise you're going to have to take off basically Thursday and Friday for just to be able to attend one of those games.
Exactly. And by the way, that's why I think the last, I know it's later in the season, but the game versus Toronto, I think that's the home finale, which has now been also, we've now confirmed it is going to be the Tackle Hunger game. That crowd needs to be, that'll be a good gauge. That'll be a good gauge for a Saturday afternoon game, no matter when the game is being played.
Yeah, like the fact that there is a Monday afternoon game, which is the Thanksgiving day game, I mean, that will be well attended. It usually is. So, I mean, that one's almost a non-starter. But yes, I think this Saturday game against the Argos, I think that has to be more or less the benchmark. And I think if people really truly want the Alouettes to schedule games more on the weekends, then you got to show up for this game. Like, 'cause that way you can go back and say, listen, that Hamilton game in August was very well attended. It was an amazing atmosphere. If you can replicate that in late October against the Argos, get 21,000 in there, get it loud, get it exciting, regardless of what the weather's going to be like. I'm sure it'll be a little cooler. It won't be blazing hot like it was in August. But if you can still make for a very exciting atmosphere for that late October game, just to really help sell the idea that, okay, you know what? This is what fans want. I mean, yeah, the Thursday games are okay, but at the same time, it could be so much better. But again, it really does come down to numbers. Like if you can get 17,000 for a Thursday night game and only 15,000 for a Friday night or even a Saturday game, then it's understandable why the team's going to say, well, you know what? Maybe this just shows that fans really do prefer Thursday night games at home, which again, if you're living on Montreal, it's great for you. It's not so much of travel, but if you're trying to attract fans from outside of the Montreal area, and that's including like opposing teams having their fans come in for the game as well. I mean, it comes back to the same idea that you're basically taking 2 days off to be able to go attend one game. Yeah. And at what point are you going to say, at what point can you justify that with everything that's going on in the world right now? This is what they always have to consider when it comes to the attendance. Like, what market are they looking for? Are they looking for the local market, or are they looking for everybody? So these are questions that have to be answered. And I guess, I don't know when they're going to publish the results of these surveys, if they are. And really, this is what it comes down to, is trying to see where fans want to be. Like, do they really truly want these Thursday night games, or do they want games on the weekend? So it really comes down to, like, they say numbers don't lie. So let's see what the numbers are going to be for these Saturday games and whatnot, and see where it goes.
Yep. Well, we'll see. By the way, just before we just happened to see this now in the conversation today with Danny Machocha over on TSN 690, then our GM announced or said, "quote I've circled Edmonton as the potential date where William Stanback can possibly play, or it could be the following week."
Ooh, I mean that's huge considering the injury he suffered in week 1.
Yeah.
For him to come back, and actually, if you go to his Instagram too, you'll see him like doing his rehab, and he's looking good. He's looking good. I mean, now he's also too not walking in a boot. He doesn't have his little scooter, his little feel like that. So I mean, if he's
and he was chomping at the bit the last practice that I showed up, the Labor Day practice at the Big O. He was chomping at the bit. He just wanted to play.
He just wants to play, and we want him to play. I mean, that's not a knock at all on Walter Fletcher or Jeff Winantui, but imagine gearing up for a playoff run. And as it stands right now, the Alouettes are in a playoff run, potentially. If you can get back William Stanback, and if he can get back to where he was supposed to be, because let's not forget, a lot of people were expecting him to be leading the league in rushing this year. If we can just get him back for that last little bit to help and get into the playoffs with a healthy William Stanback, whew, man, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
That is definitely that'll be a relief, I think, for this team to be able to count on 31 again.
Exactly. Again, no game this week, but if you do happen to show up on Sunday to the season ticket holders day, hey, just come over and say hey to us. We'd be more than happy to talk to our fans and to talk about the Alouettes. So hope to see you there. And Cliff, I know I'll see you there, my friend. So, but we'll be back next week to talk about the upcoming matchup versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach. 1 hour and 11 minutes later. So says Tim and